burning sands of the 8th century, a teenage general crossed the Indus with an army of faith. His mission: rescue the oppressed, punish the tyrants, and plant the banner of Islam on foreign soil. What followed was not just conquest, it was the beginning of an era. This is the story of Muhammad bin Qasim, the 17-year-old commander who changed the course of the Indian subcontinent forever. Long before swords were drawn and battles were fought, Arab merchants had been sailing the waters of the Indian Ocean. These traders frequently passed through the coasts of South and Southeast Asia, not just to exchange goods, but to build relationships, influence cultures, and even settle permanently. Even before Islam, Arab traders had established small communities in regions like Malabar, Serendib, modern-day Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. But after the advent of Islam, something changed. These traders were no longer just known for their goods. They were admired for their character, honesty, and ethical conduct. Local rulers began to see Muslims as allies and made agreements with them. Their influence grew not through war but through goodwill. Muslim preachers and merchants were given the freedom to preach and trade openly. In the early years of the 8th century, a group of Muslim traders died en route to Serendib. Their widows and orphan children were left behind on the island. The king of Serendib, aware of Muslim power and seeking to win favor with Hajjaj. There, Dahir's soldiers looted the cargo, seized the passengers, and imprisoned the women and children. One of the captive women managed to send a letter to Hajjaj bin Yusuf, pleading for help. When Hajjaj received her cry, he was furious. He sent a letter to Raja Dahir, demanding the immediate release of the captives and punishment for the looters. But Dahir responded with arrogance and refused to comply. That sealed his fate. Hajjaj acted swiftly. He first dispatched General Abdullah al-Islami with 6,000 troops towards Sindh. But Abdullah was killed in battle, and the campaign failed. Next, Hajjaj sent another commander, Budayl, with an equally sized force. Budayl too fell in combat. 2 failures in a row. Hajjaj realized that this was no ordinary campaign. Sindh could only be taken by an extraordinary man, a leader with vision, discipline, and divine favor. That he chose a young man who was both his cousin and son-in-law. Muhammad bin Qasim, governor of Fars, only 17 years old, yet already known for his leadership and military brilliance. In 711 Hajjaj entrusted him with a powerful army of 12,000 men, 6,000 Syrians and 6,000 Iraqis. He was also given a mighty siege engine, a catapult named Aruz, so large it required 500 men to operate. The young general marched east. Muhammad bin Qasim's army reached Debal by land. Naval support brought supplies and siege equipment. Locals also joined the Muslim force, raising the strength to about 18,000. The siege of Debal began, and lasted nearly 3 months. Inside the fortress, locals believed that as long as the temple's flag waved atop the main spire, no enemy could defeat them. Their God would protect them. When Muhammad bin Qasim learned of this belief, he ordered the catapult Aruz to target the spire. A massive stone was launched, it struck, and the flag came crashing down. Fear spread among the defenders. Confidence surged among the Muslim soldiers. They stormed the walls, breached the city, and after intense fighting, the Muslims captured Debal. The Islamic banner was raised for the first time on South Asian soil. The captive women and children were freed and sent back to Hijaz. For many, it was not just a military victory, it was a moral one. The Battle of Aurora. After his defeat at Debal, Raja Dahir retreated to Brahmanabad and began gathering a massive army. Meanwhile, Muhammad bin Qasim captured Naran, Sistan, and Saiwan, tightening the grip on Sindh. Then came the march to Aurora. Dahir had an army of elephants, 10,000 cavalry, and 30,000 infantry. He stationed archers along the banks of the Indus River, preventing Muhammad bin Qasim's forces from crossing. But Muhammad bin Qasim was a master tactician. Using strategic planning and discipline, the Muslim army built makeshift crossings, broke enemy lines, and launched a direct assault. The battlefield exploded into chaos. Dahir, mounted on an elephant and surrounded by his finest troops, fought bravely. But Muslim forces couldn't break the elephant wall. Then they ignited explosives. The fire scattered the elephants. Dahir's forces panicked. His own elephant fled toward a river. Archers fired relentlessly. Dahir tried to rally his men on foot, but he was struck down and killed in battle. His queen, along with 15,000 soldiers, retreated into the fort. But as the Muslims breached the defenses, she performed jawhar, mass ritual suicide, rather than be captured. With Aurora in Muslim hands, Muhammad bin Qasim turned to Brahmanabad, ruled by Dahir's son Jai Singh. Though the locals resisted from within the fort, they eventually surrendered, opening the gates. Dahir's other son, Guli, ruled Ara briefly but fled after a short resistance. The city was captured. Then came Multan, a wealthy Buddhist religious center. It was not just a city, it was a symbol of local spiritual power. The Muslims laid siege. They found a treasure chamber filled with gold, a room 18 yards long and 10 wide that captured. Local advised the Muslims to cut off the water supply. The plan worked. The city surrendered. Multan too was now under Muslim rule. Though he ruled for just 3.5 years, Muhammad bin Qasim's governance left a lasting mark on Sindh. That he improved administration, upheld justice, and protected the rights of non-Muslims. He respected local customs, restored temples, and ensured religious freedom. That he appointed loyal and honest Hindu officials. Even Dahir's nephew and minister were given important roles. Non-Muslims received stipends. They were included in government. Their places of worship were repaired, not destroyed. They lived with security under Islamic rule. Muhammad bin Qasim established a fairer system than many of the native rulers before him. The arrival of Islam in the subcontinent marked more than a change in rulers. It brought a new way of life, one rooted in justice, equality, and brotherhood. The people of Sindh, long oppressed by caste, inequality, and ritualism, embraced this message with open hearts. They welcomed the conqueror not just as a victor, but as a liberator. Through his character, governance, and humility, Muhammad bin Qasim became a symbol of hope, a hero in the eyes of many. Sindh is called Bab al-Islam, the Gate of Islam, because the Indian subcontinent is home to nearly 570 million Muslims, half the global Muslim population, a legacy that began with the campaigns of this teenage commander in 712 CE. His victory at Sindh lit the torch of Islam in South Asia, a torch that still burns brightly. He came with justice, not just with swords. He ruled with compassion, not fear. In the annals of Islamic history, the name of Muhammad bin Qasim shines as the dawn that broke the darkness, the conqueror who brought light to Sindh. Viewers, what is your opinion about Muhammad bin Qasim, the conqueror of Sindh? Please comment. Subscribe for more historical documentaries that go beyond myths and into the real past.